I was saying, I was telling Eric earlier this week. I was like, I think generally speaking, I'm pretty pleased with like my moves and stuff. But I was like, the one that keeps me up at night is Pacheco for $10. I was like, I should have just set that $10 on fire. Like when I look back,
did you drop him?
no, I'm he's in my IR, but
Okay.
and you said this a while ago, and and I know it's gonna happen. I mean, Hunt, it's gonna be a committee when he gets back. Even, it's not like he's just gonna get in there and go back to his normal workload.
We'll see. I mean, given that Hunt is doing well, that might, like, his timeline might not be. They may not be in a rush to get him back, but it just kind of depends. I don't know.
Dude, I don't know if he'll get back before week 16 or so. I know his timeline said it's still the same, but I don't know, man. That injury is brutal. I
selfishly hope not at this point.
Well, when Dave offered him to me for $10 early on, I was like, dude, I just saw Andy Reid say, yeah, I don't know about him coming back this season. Like, at one point, there was like a quote from Andy about that.
By the way, I looked for that. I never found it. So I still don't know what you're talking about on that quote.
Really? I have to go find it. But they were like, when he return? He's like, well, we don't know if he will, but we're hoping he will. And I was like, what the heck? Yeah, that's why I was like, scared me off. I will say, one of the things.
Well, it makes you feel better. I traded away Jonathan Taylor for ETN and some.
Yeah, that was
pretty
brutal. That was pretty brutal.
David, I'm still going to hold my point that Tank is the starter.
Dude, I don't know.
We'll see.
We will see. He has not come back yet. ETN has not come back yet. He should this
week. Do you guys know if there's an easy way to go back and see all your transaction history?
That's how I did your fab, Johnny.
And everyone listen. By the way, guys, I'm already recording. I just thought it'd be funny to pick up whatever you guys are saying.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Johnny, go to League. Go to the League tab.
Okay, I'll follow you.
So at the top, Match Team Players League. Go to League. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, below, and then it'll be Recent Activity. Click View All, and then you can filter by type of transaction, like trades, free agent, waiver.
No way.
Name and click a team that is involved. That's how I make the slides. I go to each person's transaction history for that week.
Isn't Sleeper great? Sleeper's great.
I was just about to say, for all the things Sleeper's amazing at, I was like, how do they not have this? Because when you go to your own transaction history in teams, it's like every failed waiver transaction or claim is on there and stuff. And I was like, I just want to see my trades. And I had no idea. This is clutch.
Yeah, now you can literally click your name and trades and see every trade you've done this year.
Thank you. That's nice.
So for those of you listening that did not know how to do that, you can now do that.
Dude, all the filters are amazing.
Which is awesome. Well, we are on a bit of a time crunch. I don't think there should be too much to talk about this week because there's less teams and nothing groundbreaking happened. But I know Ryan's got a time crunch for 8:08 Yankees game start. We got about 45 minutes here, so.
I would like to lock in more than that if possible. So let's get this thing rolling. So I gotta get in the right headspace.
Okay, so 8 o'clock. Shoot for 8 o'clock.
40 minutes. This would be a miracle.
We won't rush this, but I would like to start setting my sights on Game 7.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get it started.
I love his optimism.
And here's how I'm going to start this. We're cracking a cold one for this Week 8 video. It's going to be a good one. We got, for those of you, if you don't know their voices, this is David, Ryan, and Johnny joining me. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hello.
Johnny, everyone's favorite person to hate on this year.
I'm crying inside it. It's been a rough day.
Dude, you relish in it. What are you talking about?
I hate attention. Number one. No, I did not mean to cause the uproar that I did. I'm almost in apologize mode. I'm like, man, I've just been annoying in the chat. My bad. I did not mean to be that guy.
Everyone is just salty that they are not in the position that you are in because it is far and away the most dominant position you could be in at this point in the season.
Yeah, and it's people like you, Eric, and David who keep gassing Johnny up that we need Johnny to start panicking. Stop.
I am.
Nice to Johnny.
Guys, we're getting to the point where almost any team
is
could get
already
eliminated. So.
Well, Eric used to say that it's kind of a sneaky advantage to be able to use this platform to
I control the narrative.
Elicit panic trades from teams. Last year, Eric would make a prediction, and people who he predicted to be Guillotine would freak out and throw a bunch of fab at somebody to like save them for the week. And and Eric has just taken this and has been nice to
Dude,
Jonny this year
no,
rather than make him do something stupid like that.
No, it would
I've
be
hated his positivity. Like, oh yeah, if he doesn't win the league, I don't know what he's doing with his life. I'm like, what the heck?
bro, actually selling if he does not win the entire league. Wait, Johnny, did you bid? Did you bid 20? You did
On
not.
who?
Like
He bid like
no,
17.
no,
or
no, no,
18.
no, no. I mean,
No, he didn't
$20
buy
to
in.
bet. You did
He
not
didn't
buy
buy
into
in.
the league.
No, because I can't. I wish I
Then
could.
I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. You're my main
I'm a big
competition
better.
to victory. I want you to win so that I can get second and win all the money. So, Johnny is my scapegoat here.
Wait, is that the rule? Is not everyone gets the money back? Second
Yeah,
place gets the money?
JC last year got second and won all the money.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So
there you go.
Now,
Rip JC.
segue in. JC is gone.
Real quick, I got two things to say real quick.
Oh my goodness,
First
we
of
haven't
all,
even gotten to it.
that's my first thing is we gotta get going because we're getting sidetracked here. My second thing is that I may need to. I will probably need to leave this call early. Just heads up.
Okay, fair enough. Leave whenever you need to. Just
Get moving.
all right, let's go. I will start with this slide. Your top scorer of the week is the tush push. As a salty Bengals fan, it's stupid. What a stupid play. Jalen Hurts, if you haven't figured it out. JC is gone. It's really tough to see. I had him in about the bottom half of the league in terms of like the strength of team. So it's not too surprising. But what's surprising is what we just saw: the two highest fab teams besides Jonny get eliminated in back-to-back weeks. So good for Jonny in theory. Bad for the rest of the league. I guess it depends on how you look at it. In theory, those guys were also competing for fab with the guys under them. So it could be good for people below, but especially good for Jonny. He has more of control over the market now. Top 25%. Go ahead.
With my spending habits, I think that's bad for the rest of the league, honestly, because they would have been the guys that I would put more money in to get certain guys for the next couple weeks. I'm going to have to start spending soon.
That
is
my thought too.
So if Mark goes, like, guys, I'm not. I don't need to spend anything.
Right,
it's
like
not
you
good.
could literally get anyone you want for about a $10 bid. Like, unless anyone who has 20 bids like the rest of their fab, but then I'm sure you would be fine with that because then they're at 0. So you let it happen. So yeah, top 25% and bottom 25% of last week, just 2 now per. Me finally getting the star, and Mark with another flame. We've been up at the top for the last multiple weeks in a row. Average score of 131, up 9% in the last week of 120. And the bottom 25%, Philip getting his first trash can of the year, and Ryan picking up another ice cube. Average score of 104, which is up 33% from last week of 79% or 79 points. That is the highest floor we've seen. And Jonny, once you made that comment in the chat about like finding league history stats, I started scouring the history of last year and this year and pulling some stats. I plan next week to do a mid-season kind of record recap that'll also include last season. So I've got a lot of things I've compiled here, but I will say this is a breaker, like something that did not happen last year. Surprisingly, the first week last year where we saw every single team score over 100 points was week 15.
Wow.
Because surprisingly, every week, like 12, 13, 14, 15, like every team except for the losing team scored 100. So it's like you just had one dud team and the rest were good. But still, like this is the first time every team scored over 100, which is pretty crazy. Tough to be JC in this situation, but it is what it is. And here it is. You can see it. Look, there's like this is the smallest distribution of points we had seen the entire year, and obviously the highest floor by a very, very large margin.
Good chart, Eric. That's a good chart.
Thank you. I made the box and whisker just in time for this to like show how crazy last week was in the grand scheme of the season. So
this is the perfect week for it, no doubt.
Right. Pretty cool stuff here.
Shout out Miss Byrie.
Shout out Miss Byrie. Not tonight, actually. We are recording, by the way, Wednesday night. I will probably post this tonight, so you guys, if you want to have a late night watch or just watch it whenever you want tomorrow. Decided to run it tonight because it was ready to go and could get more people on when it's at night and not during the workday. So may continue to do this so I can get some more people in here that are different because we've had Jonny, David, and Ryan on before. Not that I don't love you guys, but getting some more people in would be fun. I heard we might get an appearance from Mark sometime in the near future, but anyone else is also welcome to join in. So tomorrow night, anyway, the Jets Texans should be an interesting game, to say the least. The Jets are something to watch right now. They're just a disaster, it seems, but not that they can't pull this one out. I think it'll be a close game. The Texans are dealing with lots of injuries at wide receiver, Diggs and Nico Collins. So,
not to cause some panic, but I'll cause some panic while the cat's out of the bag. That's kind of the goal of this call.
Yep.
This is a low. That's a low over under.
Also, why are the Jets favored? Tell me why.
The low over under.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I'm just maybe it's going to be a low scoring game if you're starting.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if this was a high scoring game.
Yeah, I don't know if you're starting any of those guys. Maybe they're not going to get some love.
Ryan, you got Brees. David, you got Dell. Johnny, you got Mixon. Garrett Wilson is on Jake's team.
I kind of have to start Dell, so it's not really.
You do.
I'm not really making a decision here.
I'm can't really throw the ball to anybody else, so maybe that's.
But Sauce is probably
running out of options.
Yeah, but the Texans will probably, if they're smart, they'll just scheme him to get the ball and like screen passes and
they're
get your
scheme
playmakers
Mixon.
the ball.
They're going to scheme Mixon like they always do.
Sure.
Mixon's going to have a great game. Everybody
Mixon's
else is the giant question mark.
Awesome, dude.
I do think Mixon's the only for sure consistent one, but the only way that this over under is in the Jets' favor, it has to be because of Stephon Diggs and Nico, right? Why else are they favored,
100%.
Right? That's the only reason.
It's got to be because they're healthy in theory. In theory, the Jets should only get better than what we've seen because what we've seen is way worse than what we thought they would be. It is possible to get worse. I don't think they'll get worse. We will see. Don't want to linger too long on Thursday night because there's not too many starters there. There's a lot of starters in this game. I look forward to this Monday night. Ravens, Bucks, very exciting stuff. Lots of starters here. Baker,
Good
Rashad
graphic,
White,
Eric.
Bucky. What?
Good graphic.
Thank you. I mean, I Google it and then I find good ones. So
that would be week 7.
Wait. Oh, I see. I didn't check this graphic hard enough. So either this is from a previous year. Because Baker's only been there for a couple. Interesting. They must have played on Monday night in a previous year. So either someone messed up or this was an actual matchup in Week 7 in a prior year. Either way, it's a graphic. So if you want to make these PowerPoints, be my guest. But we got lots of starters. Those guys, McMillan, Otten, Mahomes. James may start Mahomes depending on whether or not Jordan Love plays. Is that the situation? I believe
that's it.
And then Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, Worthy, Kelsey, Kansas City D. Lots and lots of starters. I think this will be a very interesting Monday night. All I have is Otten. I don't think there's many guys with multiple starters. Phillip will have Rashad White and Worthy, and he's a guy that's a team that's not fantastic right now, so could be tough. And I'm sure there's someone else here that has two or more players.
What teams are playing on Monday?
Is it not Bucks Ravens?
It's Bucks Chiefs.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yep.
Wait, the rest of your stuff's right.
This is complete. Yeah, it's like I knew the teams, but my graphic. What am I doing, dude?
Oh, so you're good.
Thank you for catching me. I would have just kept going through that and not even thought twice that I'm saying Mahomes and this is literally Baker Mayfield. Oh, I'm so dumb.
It should be Baker. It's Mahomes instead of Lamar.
Oh, not Lamar. Okay, God, dude, I am so. It's been a day. Okay.
Pregnancy brain, am I right?
How dare you rush him, Ryan? This is all your fault.
Nah, I kind of rushed myself. I was like, I want to do this tonight. Let's just do it. And,
Eric, do you have a busy call day tomorrow? We don't. Sorry.
I don't, but it's just why not knock it out if I can? And David and Johnny couldn't do it if we did it tomorrow.
I look forward to breaking up the workday with this, but that's okay.
If you want to ramble for an hour about fantasy, I'll still do that. It just won't be on a call. It'll be a tag pro session.
This will be that'll be a good Monday night. There'll be a lot of key players left.
So Bucks, Chiefs. There you go. Not Bucks Ravens. Idiot. Yeah, I even have it right here. Yeah, I'm really dumb. Okay. Week 8 standings. Johnny staying up top. Mark staying up top. Both over 900. I have been climbing week over week, getting a little closer to them. I'm not over 900, but we're all in the averaging over 110 per week category. JC getting eliminated, averaging 105 on the year. So he was pretty solid on the entire year, just 1 week where he scored 102. So what can you say? It is what it is. And Fleming's a guy that pulls starters. He pulled a starter last week. I feel like almost every week Fleming pulls a starter, so that's why he's down here. So Jake and David, in theory, are the actual worst scoring teams on the year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think they're really pulling starters ever. Ryan is also a starter puller if he can. But
yeah, not last week, but that's okay.
Not last week. Ryan needed everything. Every ounce out of his team last week.
Ironically, I was trying to trade the Broncos D against Carolina. I needed all their 9 points, too.
Good point. Okay, the economy. Jonny, as it's been every week, I think he's climbed a little higher on market share because between Potter losing 70 and JC losing 60 just from getting eliminated, and then a couple big spenders like Jake and Huff this week, we see Jonny just flying up there, 37% of the market. Mark's in a pretty solid spot as well with a good team and 23% of the market. Honestly, I think so. Like, these are the 4 teams that were in the green last week in like the quadrant analysis thing. And I forgot to make my take on it last week, but I would essentially say this is my take for these should be the final 4 teams. So the fact that us 4 are also in the top half of the league in Fab kind of solidifies that too. I think you can make a case for guys to sneak in like Huff, Ryan. The Fab, your team is good, you just don't have the Fab. And I'd say Fleming and Jake are long shots. David and Philip is like an absolute miracle. No offense to either of them, but it's hard to see either of them
Untaken.
making it all the way at this point. But you still have the 10 Fab, David. So if you keep surviving, 10 Fab has become more and more valuable over these weeks. 243 left in circulation is where we are at. And our Grim Reapers. What?
I was curious as your guys' thoughts to my one point in the chat where if I did spend like 25, I'd be right there with Mark. And that's why I was like still hesitant specifically. I mean, more Fab the better, obviously, but like that was like I think my best reasoning in my head.
30 plus to get to Mark, but yeah, I guess close enough.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking like I'd be in the range, and so I'm like, okay, if I get Gibbs and his team, and now my team is like around as good as his because I still think his is better, and we have the same Fab, and I feel like I lost my control that I wanted, if that makes sense. That's why I'm still like playing the game.
The whole game right now is just don't be last. It's very simple. So if you're not the best, it doesn't matter. Just don't be the worst. So if you feel safe enough to not be the worst in any given week, why spend unless you think you can get a long-term asset for a good value. So yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's a dominant position to be in to have that Fab. But on to the Grim Reapers. Sam Laporta is now, I would say, our true Grim Reaper of the year, except currently unrostered. Not that I think he is unrosterable.
3 for McConkey. He was on JC's last.
He didn't start him.
Oh, okay.
And if he did, he'd be alive. So it's really not McConkey.
Accurate.
But he's still up there. These are guys that are still on rosters. Rashad White has popped into the 2 category here. Ben early in the season, now JC. And I will keep Isaiah Likely and Pierce in here until someone is 4. But these guys are probably not going to be rosterable. Actually, I was going to say, hot take, I would love to see someone start Alec Pierce this week if they're feeling frisky, because the Flacco magic. I think Alec Pierce could have another one of his 20-point games where he gets like 3 catches and 2 touchdowns and 150 yards.
I don't think anybody's going to take you up on that.
I might do it though, is what I'm saying. So if someone else doesn't do it, I will heavily consider it just to have some fun here. But
well, you are really that bored with dominating, aren't you?
It'd be so funny to start Alec Pierce. He could be one of my top 3 scorers if he scores what he could score on one of his blow up games.
I dare you to start him, Eric.
Okay, I will. I might. Okay, I won't say I will. I might. I'm waiting to see some other things, like whether or not Jordan Love plays, and that'll affect my Romeo Dobbs decision. But anyway, similar last week, these guys are still on the same teams they were on before. David picked up McConkey now, and Philip has Rashad White. Fleming still has Najee. Jonny still has Amari Cooper, who really put up a dud last week. And Mark Andrews still with Ryan, but it seems like he's turned his season around. And Sam Laporta, TBD. Not that he couldn't get picked up, but he is not currently rostered.
I would not have been afraid of the Amari thing until every other offensive weapon on the Bills went off except him.
Yep.
Like, what?
Keon and Khalil Shakir had a week. But that kind of makes me nervous about those 2 guys, too, because in theory, Amari Cooper is going to start getting used and has to get spread around. So either Keon or Khalil Shakir are going to get hit. So we will see how that plays out.
I would also say, and then we can move on, but the Texans, like preseason, when you had Collins, Dell, and Diggs, right? Like, I mean, there were no-brainer starters, so these good offenses can, make it work where it's, they're all at least in flex consideration. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a good offense, then you can warrant 3 startable wide receivers even at this point in the season.
Oh, for sure. I still believe in
We're down to 10 people. So in theory, this is now like your standard 10-team league that a lot of people who play fantasy are usually in around a 10-team league. So it's comparable to that at this point.
Dude, that just hit me today.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Like that changed in my like thinking of things. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I do need some better players, because I was like, this is basically the point where in a redraft, you look at every team and you're like, oh, they're all good because it's 10 people, and I didn't even realize that's basically where we're at.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Well,
so, what?
I'm still here.
Yeah, miraculously, but all it is don't be the worst. It's not.
Yep.
Don't have a bad team.
And I like David's matchups again this week. So
you said that, Ryan, and then I looked at him and I was like, I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll get to that when we get to David's slide. Ryan, you hopped off.
I'm with Ryan on
but
that.
I added the like unfavorable matchup of the week thing on each slide. To me, I had a hard time picking David's because there were multiple, but that's my opinion, I guess. But my week 8 reaction, we all have kind of seen it. We're at the point in the season where we're having difficulty trading in this mid-season stretch, which is similar to what we saw last year. I mean, it's all the excitement and the rush of the early season and people like scrambling to get players and trade, or like if they're okay to not have fab, trade their fab away for a decent player, or even just trading away really, really mid players for chunks of fab is what we saw early season. And now it's like nothing. League activity suddenly slows down around this like week 7 to 10 range, and honestly for the rest of season it's really hard to find trades that people would agree on, because some teams right now are either already depleted of fab and can't trade for players using fab, or people are perfectly content with their rosters as is, like say me, Jonny, Mark, maybe James. Like maybe one of us would be willing to trade a player for fab, but no one wants to give us fab for our players because there's not a lot of fab left to go around. So at this point, no one seems willing to spend fab unless it's on a late season starter, but people who own these late season starters aren't very likely to move them. So it makes sense why it slows down right now. Everyone's sticking to it. Teams that are in a bad spot are just kind of doomed to be in a bad spot unless you get really lucky with like a $0 acquisition. But anyway, buys this week, Steelers, Niners. So we got like Purdy, Debo, Kittle, Jordan Mason, and then Steelers defense might be a big hit on David's team.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. And next week will be a pretty huge one. Our first 4-team bye week. Since week 6 or something like that. So Packers, Seahawks, Browns, Raiders. I will say last week was a no bye week, so it kind of makes sense that we saw an increase in scoring, but that actually did not happen last year. I predicted that would happen last year, but I remember specifically it did not happen. But anyway, Fantasy Pros versus Sleeper, the first graph. Me, Jonny, Jake up in the green. Is that not a little bit shocking to see Jake up there? But
that is pretty surprising.
Mark sliding.
Is this a new little format here, Eric?
No, format. Yes, the data and like what I'm showing is the exact same.
Hey, I noticed the color scheme change.
Thank you. We used to have like a white background. I just wanted to keep everything kind of on the dark theme, more uniform. But yeah, Mark is sliding down on his sleeper. Sleeper has him as the 4th lowest, just above Philip, Fleming, David, but Fantasy Pros has him above halfway. And Fleming, similar, 2nd lowest on sleeper, but top 4, 4th best on Fantasy Pros. So a lot of disagreement between Fantasy Pros and sleeper. And James, like, pretty wild, as the highest rated on sleeper by a pretty big margin, and below half, bottom 4, right about even with Ryan on Fantasy Pros. So Huff, Ryan, similar story. Ryan's a little bit more even. Philip and David consensus, both in a bad spot this week. But looking at rest of season versus your next week, David is still down here by a lot. Philip and Fleming are kind of like your next worst rest of season. Jake, even though he looks good this week, does not have a great projection rest of season. Ryan, James, Huff, in theory, not in great spot this week, but have a good rest of season outlook. And me, Mark, and Jonny up there in the green. They really like, Fantasy Pros really likes me for the weekly, apparently. Jonny, they really like you for the rest of season. So, cool stuff. My favorite, position strength budget. Jonny, you were way up there last week. You're way up there this week. Mark is really solidly in there. And the only other person slipping into this category is James. Me and James are now, without spending, we have gone now above the average line in Fab. I was surprised to see how low my position strength is, and I actually figured out why. It's because I moved on from the Jets defense, which in theory, if you guys don't know how I calculate this position strength, it takes your 9 starters and they're ranking 1 out of 10, like here, like 1 out of 10 at each position. I take all those numbers, divide by 9, and that's your position strength on average. So the Jets, the analytics did like the Jets all the time, so I was pulling that position up, and now I am considered to have the 10th, the worst defense in the league, because I think who did I pick up this week? Commanders defense. Not a good rest of season defense, but they're good this week, so hence why I slid a lot. But David, Phillip, Ryan, Fleming, Jake, all in that lower half of position strength and Fab. Huff is a little stronger and has a little more Fab than you guys. That's why I think Huff is kind of like that 5th team that could slip into the top 4, but I still think Jonny, Mark, James, and me are the front runners to make the Final 4 unless something drastic changes or we have a surprise elimination. All right. So in summary, Jonny is actually the only team in all 3 greens. Mark and I got in a yellow, each in 1 slide, James in 2. I've moved Jake over to this good and short-term, questionable long-term because he just spent a bunch this week and is now, in theory, looking a little better for the short-term. I mean, we saw on that first slide where he's way up here this week, so he shouldn't go this week. In theory, anything can happen, but long-term, now he has 7 Fab, not in a great spot. Ryan kept you up here. You don't have Fab, but your team's pretty solid. Huff and Fleming, like kind of just below this mark. Huff has a little bit of Fab to work with, so in theory, I think he's the perfect middle undetermined team. Fleming, I just snuck him up here from the danger zone. I think he's deserving to not be sitting in the danger zone with David and Phillip, but he's not in a great spot. And at this point, I don't have anyone in this category here. So I don't know. Any thoughts, guys? I've been talking for a while. No.
Nah. Just living in the danger zone.
I think you hit it. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. We're tracking 15 minutes, and we can hopefully get Ryan out of here. I'll try to breeze through these because there's not a ton like acquisitions. There wasn't a ton that happened this week. I'm replacing Purdy with Dak this week because Purdy's on bye. Purdy's like kind of been in the unsung hero of me the last couple weeks. He's scored like 20 plus the last 3 weeks and been a great acquisition. So I hope Dak doesn't absolutely F me. I would have liked. Who is it? Ryan, you got whoever. I mean, I would have liked Burrow, obviously, and some of the other guys that went, but I'm rolling.
Eric, you want him for $1?
I would maybe give you $1 for Burrow, maybe, but probably not. Actually, actually no, because I will definitely be starting Purdy next week. Burrow has the Ravens next week and then a bye week, so I'd rather. No, I don't want him. Forget it.
Rats.
But. I guess I don't know what there is to say here. I mean, my running backs are really solid. After Justin Jefferson, my receivers are a little questionable. K. Otton's flying up the rankings at tight end because of how little other targets there are on the Bucs, and that's about it for the story of me. And I have my tough matchup.
You lost one of the best receivers in the league, and your concession is that you now might have the best tight end in the league.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that logic, actually.
What a bullet you dodged if it actually ends up working out that way.
I mean, it's funny. I picked K. Otton up for 0 2 weeks ago, and or 3. I forget what it was, but now here we are. I've been kind of scrambling for tight end the entire year, and I finally hit a home run on a guy.
Yeah, and you can probably flip Hawk for like $10 or something.
Yeah, or like if they're both that solid. I mean, yeah, I could flip one, but I have a hard time believing someone would trade, as we've seen.
That was a dig. That was a dig at Jonny. That wasn't serious.
I could start both of them.
I was waiting for that. I was like, wait a second. There's no way he means that.
But that's it for me. I've got Jacobs versus Detroit as my tough matchup of the week.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
Yep. Checks out.
All right, Mark's team. Kittle's been crazy. I think I really like who Mark acquired this week. Pickens slipped past me this week. He's on bye, so he's not on like the this week projections. You had to kind of be aware to put a bid on Pickens. So not that many bids on Pickens. So, Mark gets him. I still think the connection with Russ could be really good for Pickens rest of season as like a flex play for the next couple weeks. Devontae Adams also a worthwhile use of $1. I would say if he and Rodgers really get back on the same page, he could be an absolute starter. So two very good uses of $1 on waivers, I would say. The analytics doesn't like Baker this week, but I don't think it matters. I thought the same thing last week. I was like, I think they're just going to get it done. They're going to next man up. Baker's going to be fine, and he had a good week last week too, so I think they'll still be fine. Yeah, I have his tough matchup of the week as MHJ Marvin Harrison versus Chicago. Chicago's been a tough team against the pass this year, except for when they're giving up Hail Marys. Shout out to the Commanders fans out there. I know there's like good, like, I don't know what, 5, 6, 7 of you in this league, so fun stuff. Johnny, how excited were you?
Dude, I wasn't even watching that live, but unfortunately, which is lame
with you?
AF. Dude, it's sometimes tough for me to catch all the action, even on Sundays because of work and such. But and that's unfortunate because that's like where it's most like hype, obviously, but not by a little bit. It's like by miles. Like watching it live versus like getting the notification is like,
Right.
Dang, I wish I'd watched that live.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Huff's team. Not too much to say. He bids 18 to get Kamara, so now he's looking a little better at running back, and he's pretty mid at this point. There's some strong points, there's some weak points, but ultimately, I have Kyler versus Chicago as his tough matchup of the week. Another matchup against Chicago that I don't like. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with my prediction that Marvin Harrison Jr. might have a bad game. Still has 20 fab, looking pretty okay in the spot that he's in. James's team. He will probably be going Mahomes this week if Jordan Love doesn't play. We will see about that. But other than that, he's got some solid pieces. Derrick Henry's been the stud. CeeDee Lamb seems to put up big points almost every week, so hopefully that happens again because I have Dak. But Tank in the flex. We will see if ETN coming back kind of impacts Tank, but other than that, I think he's got a pretty solid team. But I have Dobbins at Cleveland as his tough matchup this week. And he made pretty much no acquisitions this week. So
I was gonna say he's one of the teams where like I was like he almost became my hot take because I'm worried about Dobbins and JSN, and then if T Higgins has another weird hitch like where he comes in the game and then like leaves like after like 5 plays like he does sometimes.
He's not even on here. He should play this week, by the way, but keep going.
He's on his starting lineup right now when I'm looking at it. But
he is, but he's not on this graphic for some reason. So Fantasy Pros must not be that confident that he's going to play. Otherwise, he'd probably be in for JSN here, or Tank. We'll see.
I know like 10 teams doesn't mean every position's like amazing, but like those are 3 guys where if some of the other guys don't have, if Derrick Henry doesn't have like a crazy game or something, and those 3 guys like go south, like I think they could, then like I don't know.
Well, which is funny because he didn't last week, and obviously CD picked up the slack. But yeah, I think I like your take. That's a good take.
Yeah, I mean, I was also going to say, I almost made this kind of like my headline of the week is about how razor thin like the margins were last week and how some crazy ways that people survived. And James, while being a decent scorer last week, CD scoring 33 absolutely carried him. If CD scores 10, he's gone. No, not quite. 9. If he scores 9, he's gone. Or something like that. So you can't either.
I don't know if I like love his bench because if someone, I don't know, one of the questionables is like out, like Jordan Love or Higgins or something, then like I'm not sure I have a ton of love for any of the replacements except maybe Bigsby, but then he has his own, questionable, and if ETN comes back and all that blah blah blah.
Yeah. I mean, we're at this point in the season now where, I mean, we've seen some people slide by and get lucky even though they had a couple injuries, like Ryan a couple weeks ago with the Debo, and who else put up the goose egg for you?
Juju,
yeah. But you survived. I think it's going to be a lot harder to pull that off now, so this is the point where injuries can absolutely kill you, like the Jordan Love for James here last week almost killed him if CD didn't do what he did. So yeah, and bad matchups if you have a dud could really tank. Season's over. Could be over like that, even if you're looking good. So James isn't. No one's safe. I won't say anyone's safe. I'm not safe. I'm starting to feel less and less safe every week just because the bad teams are kind of dying out. Johnny, your team here. You grabbed Chuba Hubbard for $1. In theory, Jonathan Brooks may be coming back. I finally dropped him. Kind of a bummer. I held on to him the entire season because I heard his projection was 4 weeks and then he'd come back week 5. And now here we are at week 9, and he just now might be coming back. But I think we're at the point in the season where I can't take that risk. I can't flex a rookie that's never taken a snap in the NFL coming off an ACL tear on the worst offense in the league. So Brooks gone, but
a lot of things working against your favor there.
Yeah, so not a great. If someone wants to go pick up Brooks, I'd respect it, but I'm bummed that I held on to him for the entire season for no reason. Should have traded him earlier. He actually had value in like weeks 1, 2, and 3 when people thought he could be a dude. But Jonny, your team's looking pretty good. Receiver in theory is your weak spot. If I was to take anything. I think you have Jaden Reed on your bench, but the analytics has him as your wide receiver too. But to be fair, he's had some bad weeks. And if Malik Willis is in, I understand the cautiousness.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling with that one. I have Chuba starting right now, and I thought Brooks was not playing. That's what I thought I saw. But if he does, that's one thing. But also, they freaking are starting Bryce Young again, right? So that
they are.
Is Dalton still hurt?
Yep.
No, but I think they said they'd roll with Bryce Young until he's awful. Essentially, is how I took it.
I think he's hurt still.
They took away the best weapon in Deontay. I mean, I understand why they traded him, but like Bryce Young is really just consistently not being set up for success.
He is not at all. I think they're kind of just over it this year. I think they'd rather just get a top pick again. I think is how they're probably looking at it from a.
They'll take a quarterback. If they get the top pick, if they get the number 1 pick, they're taking a quarterback.
Are they?
100%.
I think.
Why not? Are they not in full take mode
Chicago.
where you could take like an O lineman or a receiver or something, and then next year take a quarterback?
They're taking a quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I don't
think
disagree,
they will.
but there is a world I think where they don't if they have a top pick. But yeah, looking good. Still owning the market in Fab, and I have your tough matchup of the week as Ramondre at Tennessee. That did not hold up last week when I think I said Monty at Tennessee. He was fine, and so was.
I'm hoping they rely on him with Drake May out, who actually was playing well. And then I got to be honest, I'm struggling like for 2 of my spots between Ridley, Hubbard, Reed, Ryan Thomas with the injury. Like obviously I'd play him if he was for healthy, and then Amari Cooper. I'm actually kind of debating a lot of that, so I don't know what I'll do. But
yeah,
this is
these decisions are tough.
Yeah, not to be
We
that
all
guy
know what
again,
that's
but
like, right, fellas?
When you picked up, I DM'd Johnny when he picked up Ridley, and I was like, I really like the move, and that was after the D. No, I really did like the move.
Okay.
I think he loses his value with Levis, but with Rudolph, like I like Ridley. I think he's good. I'm being totally honest. I'm not trying to play games.
How bad is Will Levis
legitimately-
that Mason Rudolph is an upgrade?
Fantasy footballers posted like his 8 targets with Will Levis like 2 games ago to Calvin Ridley, and how literally not like a single one, except I think one of the 8 was like in catchable range, and it was just like the most abysmal thing you've ever seen. So at least Rudolph can get the ball like within the vicinity, then yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like obviously, like most of that's a luxury, but at the same time, I mean, like at this point, 10 teams, I still feel like pressure because I haven't spent on like absolute studs because Malik Neighbors has dropped off a little bit, Reed dropped off, so I'm not exactly feeling like crazy about this team. Obviously, I'm just hoping to use the Fab soon to like bolster that. But
yeah, I mean, tough decisions. I mean, no one's safe. Like if you could make a couple wrong decisions here and be done. So don't feel safe, Johnny. Start spending.
Well, yeah, we'll see. My thing on the trade block is that the Bowers thing I won't even get into because that'll be too long of a discussion. Even though I think comparable to other receivers, like that's kind of where my mind was going. But on my bench, I'm not like necessarily trying to fleece people, but I was like, if someone really feels like they need to survive this week, maybe they'll spend like, $3 on Njoku. Maybe they'll spend like $6 on a Stevenson or something, because those are still good starts. At least like make it through the next week, even though that's a lot of Fab. Like I forget the handle or whatever, but like mentioned like the percentage of the market on single trades and pickups now. Like that's a fair way to look at it because like like $6 on Stevenson right now is a frick ton, but also maybe like someone's like willing to spend if like it's like Jake was doing just to make sure he survives next couple weeks. Like, I know we thought he overpaid, but like the idea still makes sense, I think. And then the only other trade, to your point earlier about like trades happening, is either that just trading to make sure you stay alive for a week or two, or like 1-for-1s, like on where people just like really have the opposite view. That's another reason I put people on the trade block, just in case someone's like, oh, I like that guy and I don't like this guy, but I like that guy. And then you can actually make a 1-for-1 at this point, maybe. I don't know. Like Mixon for a Gibbs or something, like stuff like that, I think could happen.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny, the way I look at it for your team is I think you want someone to trade for someone on your bench, not only because you get fab, but two is because you are in a tough spot because you like them enough that you won't drop them, nor will you put a waiver claim in to pick someone up to drop one of them because you like them enough / you feel like you've invested in them and you like them. So I feel like you are actually in a tough spot in that regard, and the only way you'd be happy getting rid of one of them is if someone trades for them and gives you fab. Like
Dave said, that's like a luxury, but that's the truth. Like that's exactly where my head's at. Like you put it on the dime.
Yeah, no, I get it. I could see it. I was like, I mean, if I had these guys, I wouldn't drop them, but no one wants to trade for them. So especially if it's to you, because no one wants to give you more fab. It's like you've also
no, that's fair.
People would rather die than give you more fab. But yeah, moving on to David's team, and then maybe we'll hit on Ryan's team. I might have to jump to Ryan's just so we can talk about your team before you head out, Ryan. You can make your prediction. But real quick, David's team. Josh Allen, Steelers D, has been carrying the way, it seems like. Toby Myers coming back, helped, scored a touchdown. Looks like you swapped to the Philly defense this week against Jacksonville. Should be pretty good, but in theory, I think the Steelers on bye could really hurt you because they've been like a consistent double-digit scorer, unlike other people on your team. So
seriously.
So yeah, I think if Tank Dell puts up like a dud on Thursday, you could be in a horrible spot. But you could be in a good spot if he puts up a good scores, puts up a decent amount of points.
I'm more looking at it because I don't, as I joked earlier, I'm not in a position, I don't have the luxury to bench Tank Dell. I just got to hope that he volumes his way to a decent game against a good defense. I'm prepared for him to have a bad week, and but if he has like a great week, then that'll be nice for sure.
Yeah, and I would feel like the law of averages is kind of in your favor. Like you have these guys that are pretty decent. Like I feel like Waddle should eventually have a good game.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Waddle at all.
I'm with Ryan, dude. I think Dave's players are the exact kind of pickups you need in his scenario, where they'll like do enough to like make it happen. Especially if Tracy doesn't play, and you put in Singletary for Watson, who's like been really hit or miss, mostly miss. Myers can pop off. Tank Dell can have a great game. Waddle, I think his team actually is really good this week, and maybe like for the next couple weeks, honestly.
And I think, two things. Hunt has been a baller, and Tampa Bay's defense has been a disaster. And then Pollard, despite the fact that they're down like 50 points every single game, he gets 20 carries.
How did he get 20 carries when they're losing 50-0?
Like, I don't understand. But now they're playing the Patriots, and so he might get like. Imagine if they're like in a competitive game against a bad defense.
Tyjae Spears is returning. That is something
I'm not worried.
to slightly.
I'm still not worried about that. Yeah,
David's surviving. Book it.
Yeah, I'm like about his team, at least like for where everyone else thought he was, or at least the pessimism of you and the owner.
Yeah, I've got David's tough matchup of the week as Tank Dell at New York Jets, kind of obvious.
Definitely.
But the other one I would say to sneak in there is potentially Evan Ingram at Philly. Just for whatever reason, apparently Philly's good against tight ends, but
he's
not
a
really
pure,
he's
a pure volume play.
Yeah,
honestly,
because
Brian Thomas without missing.
Yeah, no Christian Kirk.
Jacksonville needs him
for real. He should get.
Yeah, he is needed. He's needed a lot. So that's obviously my hope with him.
Hence why I did not go there. I went Dell at New York Jets. Is kind of the obvious potential bad matchup, but gotta go with it. I like McConkey's matchup.
Jets D hasn't been great either lately, for what it's worth.
Actually, I don't like McConkey's matchup. Sorry.
That is true. I just think that the Texans' offense is really lacking right now. Like
Mixon
is great.
Sure.
So I what I'm hoping is that the Jets will come in and say, we just need to scheme Mixon out of this offense and we'll win, which is probably true. And if they have that approach, then maybe they're forced to throw the ball more. So that's what I'm hoping for. Like I said, I don't have the luxury to bench him.
No.
So we'll see. We'll see how he does.
You got a glimmer of hope this week.
I have a glimmer of hope.
More
every week.
green
That's how
than
I've
you'd think
survived
here,
this far.
but yeah, I mean, yeah. All right, Ryan, I will jump to your slide so you can get yourself a couple minutes before the Yankees game. You get the ice cube of the week. Kyron.
Awesome. I love
His
it.
favorite.
Ryan's favorite. I'm loving the Josh Downs situation this week, as you would agree with Flacco getting benched. I'm in a guillotine league where I have Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, and no one wants them for me, so I just have to keep keeping both of them because I don't think either of them are quite droppable. But now I think there might be maybe both startable. Both.
I think they are. I think they are. Yeah.
I think Pittman.
Yeah, I like
with
Pittman.
Richardson out, they're both playable for sure.
Yeah, and their defense stinks, so I think they're gonna have to be throwing the ball a lot because, they're gonna be behind presumably. But no, I mean I think obviously the Yellows with the wide receivers, I think they're. My motto here is almost like high upside. Like Downs is high upside.
Yeah.
Hopkins is high upside.
Andrews
I think
is boom
McMillan.
bust.
I mean, he's been good enough. McMillan is high upside. He got 7 targets last week. I think, behind maybe Otten, I think I'd rather have him more than Shepard or anybody else.
Sure.
And then Coleman has been coming into his own. So they're not sexy,
Yeah.
but I'm irrationally confident in my wide receiver core.
Ryan, you don't
No,
wanna play,
there's something to all of them.
You don't want to play Hopkins to give yourself a Monday night player over Keon Coleman, who you currently have in your flex?
I think I'm going to
definitely
roll.
Coleman.
I think I'm going to roll with Coleman
Against Miami, the number 1 team against wide receivers.
I think that's just because they're bad. They spent
Low
half
scoring.
the year being down 40 points, and the receivers haven't been needed.
It's fair.
So yeah, I think I'm going to roll with Coleman instead of. I mean, Hopkins got 3 targets last week. I think that'll increase, but I don't want to roll the dice on that.
Juju's coming back though.
Yeah,
share.
so I think I want to just give that a beat and see if it fleshes out. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think good matchups this week, so I'm not feeling super nervous. But anything can happen. What's my tough matchup?
I got Andrews versus Denver.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's Andrews. I don't feel awesome about yet, but
I'm worried about his touchdown dependency. That's the tough thing, I think.
He keeps scoring.
Is Deontay playing this week? Do you know?
I don't know.
I
do not.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think that affected anything.
He'll probably play on 20%.
The only person that's going to affect is who's that garbage third receiver they have?
Bateman.
No, after Bateman. I
thought
Nelson Aguilar. I think that's who it'll affect, which does not affect anything for our. But yes, it affects Bateman too. I will say real quick, Jake last week started Rashad Bateman over Zay Flowers for a reason I do not understand why, but he did.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
And Zay Flowers has had 100+ yards in 3 of the last 4 weeks now, so I don't know what he still doesn't have him starting yet, but I think that may change.
Ryan, the joke is still out there. No, but actually,
Ryan, T.J. Hawkinson, couple bucks, and he's yours.
In all seriousness, go ahead.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to change the subject actually and say that I was thinking about offering you Jaden Reed for Josh Downs. No cap. I almost said it too.
No, Josh Downs is. I'm booking it with Josh Downs.
Dang, alrighty.
That's
what I was curious.
What I will say is, if anybody wants Pacheco, who feels good, wants to take a flyer on Pacheco, I'll take a piece. Similarly, I'm riding the high upside. I'll take a high upside piece who maybe they're not, maybe he's a bench piece. I don't know. I'd flip Pacheco for somebody with high upside. Throwing it out there.
Can I interest you
I don't know if I wouldn't. I wouldn't I might consider Pacheco for an Njoku, Johnny. Food for thought.
That's what I was just thinking about. All right, I'll look into it. By the way, I apologize to everyone. We'll talk. I apologize to everyone for saying no cap. I immediately regretted that. That's it. That's it.
It is 8:09. My prediction this week is a hot one. I'm gonna go Mark. I think the bye weeks are tough.
Ooh,
Oh.
that is hot.
That was mine.
Yeah.
Oh,
David, spoiler.
I think the bye weeks are tough. That's all. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I think he had some tough matchups.
You got Pickens and Kittle on bye, and Jordan Mason, and then Marvin
Yeah, I
Harrison
mean, I
Jr.
think
is
Kittle
tough.
Kittle kills him more than anyone. I like Pitts. I think Pitts will be fine, but
Yeah.
Kittle has been a beast.
Pitts has been amazing, so I actually love that replacement. Now that I paid attention to it.
Yeah, so I'm going Mark. Mark, I love you, man. Sorry, dude. Not personal. But
Dang.
yeah,
That'd be
that's my hot take.
true irony if he does get eliminated, because I tried to have him on this week, said he couldn't, but he wants to be on in the future. But it's like, what if there is no future and you're gone? So
Would you not
There's
have
no
him on
future.
if he got eliminated?
no, he could be on
He
if
could
he
still
wants to
join.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
I
like
don't know if he'll want to be. I don't know if he'll want to be.
Right, like a week
Eric's an
after getting
elitist.
eliminated, then he can give his opinion on his last week that he had. But yeah, all right.
That will
All
ruin
right,
the video vibes.
Karl Marx, any closing remarks?
No closing remarks from me. But let's go Yankees.
I'll leave it to the people.
Go Yankees. All right.
See you guys.
See you, Ryan.
See ya.
All right.
Joker for Pacheco.
That'd be interesting. I wouldn't hate it either way, for either side.
Well, now I got to look into Pacheco's return. I really was confident that he was looking late, if at all. But I guess the timeline hasn't
I
shifted.
saw was that the surgery went really well and there were no complications with any ligaments or anything, and so he should have
Surgery for
clean
one of the best
clean
surgeons
recovery.
in the world goes well.
Yeah, but like what I mean is that the bone break, it was like a really clean
Yeah.
break. Like there was no ligament damage. Like
That is good news.
it should. So everything I saw when you told me that, and I looked into it, and I couldn't. Everything I saw was that oh yeah, everything looks good. He should. But then again, they usually say everything looks good and he'll be back. So
Well,
take it with a grain of salt.
right. To the Jonathan Brooks thing of Eric, I was like, them waiting 4 weeks was them being extra cautious. And now it's like
Yeah,
9
8
weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Should
like,
him not play this year. That'd be crazy.
I mean,
No, I
could
mean,
see
like,
it happening.
why rush him back? It's like, I understand why they don't rush him back. They're not winning games. Why?
But you also want to
future running backs.
You want to get him some reps,
Yeah,
though,
but
because
get
then,
him.
then he'll be a rookie
Wait
next year.
until week 12, and then he's 1,000% healthy.
Yeah. Oh sure.
so-
Yeah.
maybe that's what they do, honestly.
They won't bench him the whole year. He will get reps at some point. They gotta get him some work. I've been waiting all year to use this GIF, which I downloaded from last year. Great Kirk Cousins gift. So I do think Kirk is probably one of the worst starting fantasy quarterbacks left in the league, but he's not unplayable by any means. Fleming's looking all right at wide receiver. He picks up Cedric Tillman to fill in for the injured Mike Evans, so he has a decent
I think he
flex
traded
two.
for Tillman, actually.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did
yeah.
I not say that? Or I didn't say he traded
No,
for
you-
him. I just said he got him.
Yeah. You're right.
Spent one of his last 3 fab. I think when you only have 3 fab, it's not like you're banking on using that fab to get a stud. I think you need to spend $1 here and there to get a high upside guy, and Tillman's seems like he could be a high upside play that could
Certainly,
keep playing. But with Amon-Ra, Puka, McLaurin, and Evans all healthy, I don't see a room for Tillman to ever see the starting lineup. But Evans is supposed to be out for 3 more weeks, so there's that. Running backs are a little weak this week. Normally Najee is his RB2. This week it's Raheem Mostert, which is just a touchdown dependent play, and Brian Robinson is put here as the worst RB1 in the league. I don't hate him though, but
That's disrespectful to Brian
Wait.
Robinson, I think.
Oh, you said the worst RB1. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, for a second, I was like, wait.
fantasy. So top 10 out of, if there's 10 RB1s right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess.
So yeah, Fleming, he actually has really good matchups across the board. So normally I would, for your tough matchup of the week, it'd be one of your studs that has a questionable matchup, a guy that you would rely on to score double digits that might not, but he doesn't have any tough matchups. So I'm going Tillman against the Chargers is his worst matchup of the week. Although Tillman is kind of his high upside play anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Saints D against the Panthers, good acquisition.
Hey guys, I got to drop now. Actually.
Okay, well we got
But
your
you already
prediction.
got
You
you already
said
got my
Mark, so.
prediction. Yep.
Alrighty.
All right.
Johnny,
Dang.
it's just you and me. See you, David.
Sorry to the people. Just me and Eric now.
Just us, just the
Yeah.
2 of us.
Oh, bye, Dave. I
Town
didn't say
ain't
bye.
big. This is a championship matchup right here.
Well, I don't know. Eric speaking things into existence.
I want to. I am happy I made it this far this year. I got eliminated pretty early last year, and I'm happy with how I'm very content with how I've played it this year so far. I couldn't ask for much more except for being in a position like Johnny's in. But I think my team is better than Johnny's right now, which makes me feel a little better every week to not get eliminated. But having 90 fab obviously is pretty nice. So Jake's team, I think this is another one of those teams that all it would have taken is just a little bit to go wrong. Like Jalen Hurts not putting up 35 with 3 rushing touchdowns. If he puts up 25 with 109, yeah, 25 and Jake's gone from Hurts. So Jake was very much on the block last week if you take away this Hurts 35 bomb. But now he adds Jahmyr Gibbs, who makes his running backs a little better. His receivers are solid enough. A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, if he chooses to start him. And Alexander Madison is who it has there, but I don't think he's actually starting Alexander Madison. He's got Javonte. Javonte, also not a bad play, but playing the Ravens, tough matchup. But I've got Flowers versus Denver as a tough matchup. Go ahead.
No, go.
That's all I got.
Oh, yeah. Flowers is still on
his bench.
The bench. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see your response to your comment.
I think we've said in past videos, Jake, I think, has been busy this year just in general, real life. So he hasn't been. He's missed some waivers. We're pretty sure he's not watching these videos. If he was, I think he would have reacted differently. But to be honest, in that middle stretch where I predicted him back-to-back weeks to get eliminated, I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Starting 2 Browns receivers and 2 Broncos running backs, and both doubling up, and they're not even good. And somehow he survived all of those weeks because he always had someone carry him. And then he traded away Kyron. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And then here he is, and he's fine because DeAndre Swift is all of a sudden a beast. A.J. Brown's back from injury.
Seriously.
And now he has Gibbs, but he now has 7 fab, so I don't love his long term after spending almost the rest of his fab on Gibbs, although he's a good player, is not worth that to me.
I think that's the main thing. Obviously, is he looks really good right now. I mean, Garrett Wilson's still above Adams. Ferguson shouldn't, he's not too bad. Javonte Williams on and off, and then Baltimore's tough. Honestly, I'm not saying it's just because I traded him, but I think if I was him, because of consistency's sake, I might start Madison over Williams, honestly. But I know that's kind of a hot take, but yeah, I don't even know this man, so not to insult him, but for all the hits we gave him about the double starts on Browns receivers and Denver running backs, I mean, he made it. That's fancy. It doesn't matter what makes sense. It matters who's right in the end, I guess.
Right, and he never responded to me berating his team on the weekly videos. That kind of confirms my thought that he's not watching the videos, which is fine. You don't have to watch the videos, but it's just so funny how his ignorance might have actually been a good thing. I think if he heard me talking all this crap about his team, I mean, he had a right to be concerned with those starts, but he didn't because he didn't hear me say it. And also, I don't know, I'm not the only person that had that thought. Other people believed it too. But I think ignorance actually helped him this year because then he came out the other end with a bunch of fab, and now he spent that fab to make his team a lot better. And if he spent it earlier, I think he might have already gotten eliminated, to be honest.
Yeah, very possible.
Now I think, has bought himself a couple more weeks. Like I said, I don't think he's a Final Four team, but he's could push for it. He's in the middle of the pack right now. All right. Yeah, this is his first waiver claim in. I'd have to look, but you know what? I don't know. I'm not in a rush. I can do the same thing. Trades or not trades. Waivers, Jake. He has made 2 waiver claims on the entire season. Gibbs.
Oh, really?
David Montgomery on September 18th. So week 2? Week 3, going into week 3. David Montgomery for $30, and this week Jahmyr Gibbs for $38. He's literally not even made a single other small bid waiver claim on the entire season. That doesn't mean not picking up free agents, but he doesn't bid during the waiver period when everyone makes their bids. That's what waivers means as opposed to free agency. So it's pretty crazy. That's the quietest free waiver team in the league by far, for sure. But all right, you already hit on Ryan's team. He's at 4 fab. Got Burrow this week. Probably not for much longer. Well, he did actually move on completely from Stroud, so we'll see if Ryan sticks with Burrow going forward, but also got Stafford, who could be good in the future with now Kupp and Puka back. So, Puka. All right. And getting the trash can, Phillip, Lamar, and Bijan continue to carry the team week over week. It's like 4 weeks in a row where I have not had to change these top two, being Lamar, Bijan, and just keeping the same Lamar gif on his slide. I think he made some really sneaky good acquisitions for $0. I said Mark made some good ones for like the one fab, getting Pickens and Devontae Adams, but for $0 bids, Elijah Moore just saw 12 targets last week, and Jameis throws the ball, so that could continue as like the slot guy. I feel like he's a slot guy. I don't know if he actually plays in the slot, but that's just my hunch. He's a slot guy. Rashad White, not bad for 0 fab, and Tolbert, I don't like as much as these two, but got some upside. If we saw a CD injury, I'm sure Tolbert would be much more useful, but right now I'm not sure he'll see a starting lineup. Weak point is wide receiver. Absolutely. DJ Moore, Worthy, Pittman. Pittman we like this week, though. We said that. We like Pittman this week.
Yes, I do like Pittman. I think this is a team that's far and away the worst. I mean, I don't think that's obviously not the hot take, so I don't think anyone's going to pick him because he's like the only clear, like, I think, bottom team in my opinion, at least for this week.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I don't know. I'm worried about Moore because all the other options that Winston likes, Njoku, Judy wasn't bad, and then obviously Tillman, and then Rashad White against Kansas City with the way, the backfield has been. Hunter Henry doesn't have Drake May anymore, and then DJ Moore has been kind of like boom or bust. Like, that's tough.
Yeah. Oh, good point about Hunter Henry. I kind of just glossed over that in my mind. I was like, I like him, and even though his analytics has him as the worst tight end here, I was like, I kind of like it, but you're right. He was a lot better off with Drake May, and Drake May is no more, so don't love it anymore. Phil is I'm looking at his team right now and who he actually has in his flex. His flexes are Rashad White and Elijah Moore. Oh, he has Pittman up here. Xavier Worthy on the bench. I find that interesting. I think you need the upside of Worthy if you're in Phil's spot. And also, he's still rolling with the Lions defense, who are coming off a hot week. By the way, I will say, Phillip, as we know, scored 102, barely outscored JC, and the Lions defense scored him 19. If they don't score 19, if they score 18, Phillip is gone. Like, that is, to me, a crazy, crazy line. You can expect high points from Lamar and Bijan, but I think that the Lions might have been one of the top scoring defenses last week. I don't know if anyone scored more than 19 as a defense. So Phillip had to find the diamond in the rough, pick up the best defense of the entire week, and for that reason he survived. Crazy when you look at it that way. But I do not. I'm not jealous of Phillip in his situation this week on on the decisions he has to make. Rashad White at Kansas City, in theory, is a bad matchup. Elijah Moore versus the Chargers is also a bad matchup. He has them in his flexes, but he also has Tracy, who's questionable to play, who in theory would be probably worth a start if he plays. Worthy against Tampa Bay on his bench, I think that is definitely startable with high upside. Tolbert at Atlanta, probably the most likely guy to stay on his bench, and then Jordan Addison, who's a good player. We know what he can do. They're playing Sunday night against the Colts. I think he wouldn't be dumb to start him, but those are very hard people to decide between, and this decision will probably save or end his season. I think there will be a difference between, like, there will be a right choice that would in theory have made him safe, and if he makes some wrong choices, I think he could very well be gone this week. So, treacherous spot to be in, if you ask me. And JC's team. I couldn't not put this George Pickens gif. I can imagine JC standing at his TV on Monday night like this, except not in a.
Yes.
I think George Pickens is obviously hyped. He's getting drafted. JC was not so hyped, looking at the TV on Monday night. Crazy. 63 fab to the void. Pickens did not quite close the gap for JC on Monday night to catch up to Phillip, and this is the earliest we've seen a 100-plus point scoring team get eliminated in week 8. Like I said last year, it was week 15 that we saw the final 4 teams all score over 100, which is just absolutely baffling to me. But yeah, Laporta takes another name for the Grim Reapers. And my power rankings, I did not change a single thing. JC died.
Everyone moved up.
8, so David, Phillip, and Fleming move up to fill their spots. I don't think Fleming passes Jake. I don't think Jake passes Ryan, although he did make acquisitions to make his team better. I don't like his long-term outlook now. I like Ryan's long-term outlook a little more for both of them having low fab. Huff has a decent team and has like 20 fab. And then Actually, that's funny. This order is almost in order of fab right now because it's like obviously, well, you would be the highest, and then Mark has the second most. B and James are third and fourth. Then it's Huff. Then it's David, I think, actually with 10, and everyone else here is below 10. But this is almost in order of the fab remaining, but not quite. But like I said, I see me, Mark, Jonny, James as the final four. I honestly, if you want my real honest hot take, I think Huff is the only other team I could see sneaking into the final four. It's hard actually to predict that. It is bold for me to say that, even though we seem like the best now. Things happen, injuries happen. So I guess barring injuries, I'm saying I like our teams the best in our fab situation. So anyway, that is my take there. And now my hot take. Jonny, do you want to give yours first, or do you want to see mine? We got 2 for Mark in already.
I think I'll get mine first because everyone looks forward to the Eric hot take, especially with the graphic.
Uh-huh.
So I'll also say for the final four, I hate getting ahead of myself. It's a bad mojo, but I have to go back and look at what happened last year because it's so crazy to think of who's available in the final four and how much probably luck plays a bigger role there than anywhere else to an extent maybe.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I can't remember how it panned out, but yeah, it's you meet text a little bit about it being matchup based a lot and things. So it'd be interesting. It's just interesting thinking about the final four at this point. If Huff sneaks in, basically it doesn't matter if he was on the fringe the whole time of getting that far. At that point, his team is probably just as good as anyone else's, right? I can't remember if the separation between 1 and 4 last year was crazy or not.
Wait, sorry, say that last part again.
I can't remember basically what I'm saying, if the separation between team 1 and team 4 when they got to the final four last year was really that crazy. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't have it downloaded, but I can pull it up on I have it on my work laptop, actually. That's where I make all the little graphics. So to back up really far to go all the way back to...
Oh no, sorry guys.
No.
This is over an hour.
You guys can leave. Just click off the video if you're bored. But anyway, so I made this, but for last season, because I had all the weekly scores inputted just like I did for this year, and I still had it in Excel. So I plugged it into the same format, and it's cool to look at in this way. And I won't be able to pull it up, but I could just tell you that last year, we didn't see until week 15. We did not see every single team score more than 100, which is crazy. We had Tom, Mr. V, TVR, whatever you guys know him as, in week 13. He was the guy that just was not doing anything. He had all the fab, wasn't spending anything until the very end, and he died.
That was Mr. V?
It's Mr. V.
Dude, I forgot that was a thing. You had his picture up and everything, and I just think that completely went over my head. That is so crazy, but okay.
It is.
I'll come to terms with that later.
In week 13, he scored 65 and got eliminated. And it was a long time coming. His team was awful, and he made it to the final 6 teams, and he got eliminated, scoring 65. The next lowest score was Jack Colston with 109. So in theory, that's the week where every team but Tom scores 65 or scores over 100, and then the week before that Jake gets eliminated with 69, and every other team but him scored over 100. And then week 14, going 1 week ahead, Potter scored 83, got eliminated, got 4th. Every other team scored over 100, and then finally in week 15 every team scored over 100, and Cooper lost with 109, and then Ryan 108 in week 16, and the final 2 was JC and Jack, and I think the score was 140 to 126. So it's isn't that crazy? 140 to 126, that's it, with every single player to your disposal.
Available. Yeah, that is kind of wild. It shows you how it still matters, obviously, who you pick. But I know this has gone long, but honestly, I think the more people we have on talking, because I know I've talked a lot this time.
Yeah.
I guess it's just it probably can't be 45 minutes with guests and stuff. But at least if we actually give our thoughts a lot. But maybe that's next week's what to look at. Slide is looking ahead, what the final 4 teams roster makeups were at last year. It's just, I don't know, something that's interesting to me. But anyway, hot take. All right, drum roll is that. Oh, I don't trust me. I don't need that. I got to pull it up in front of me. This is not retaliation, Eric, but it is you.
No way. Get out of here.
That is my legitimate.
Why? Let me hear it. I've been so dominant. I guess to be fair, this streak of dominance has to end. I've been a top 2 scorer for 4 weeks straight. Anyway, give it to me.
I honestly didn't even think about how many points you've been scoring recently, which is true. But I was just like looking at rosters purely. I actually prepared for this call. That's why I had more thoughts this time.
Nice.
I'm not a Prescott fan. I don't care who they're playing. Something about him I just don't
You're not
trust.
impressed with who?
And Dak Prescott.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
Like,
either. But I got to do what I got to do.
right. But so I'm saying that one. And then Josh Jacobs against Detroit. Like, I know Josh Jacobs has been like just lethal, and they'll have to rely on him with Love if he's out and stuff. But Detroit is just like so staunch against the run. Barkley's this guy where I just feel like he's definitely not a bust candidate.
He's putting up 30.
I just feel like there's times in the Eagles, especially with AJ and Devontae back, where they don't have to like rely on him. And even I have to go back and look at the games. I feel like there's good matchups where he didn't like pop off still because they didn't like need him that much. So I think that's possible. Justin Jefferson, great. Mooney, I like Mooney a lot. Auden, I like a lot. Yeah. But then Kenneth Walker, he's just like been surviving off of receptions, and I feel like the lack of efficiency on the ground like might finally come to bite him in the butt, especially if I don't know. Los Angeles seems like they've been playing better. That might be like cold take. I really don't know if I can back that up, but I just have a feeling that like if Metcalf is back and stuff, what if they don't give him like 7 receptions for like 60 yards and he has a bad running day and doesn't score, and then all the Packers receivers can like bust, and Dobbs is like one of the ones I think that's like on the bottom half. I think you'd rather have Reed or Wicks probably.
For sure.
And then
if it's what's his face? Malik Willis, then obviously I will likely take Dobbs out for
that too, especially
or Dowdle. Both of those I'd feel much safer starting over Dobbs if it's Malik Willis in.
Yeah, and the Commanders actually I love that pickup against the Giants. They've like their defense has been like upgrading as their offense has been dominant, and so as a Commanders fan, I'm very happy. But
right.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's not an awful take. I just like my guys. So I believe in my guys. And the Dak thing, Joe Flacco is still on waivers. I could start Joe Flacco. I did it earlier this season, and I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Oh, also, I'm going on too many tangents, but Dak, I think his floor is 15. Outside of the Detroit game, his worst score, and week 1 at Cleveland, which is a tough matchup, he scored 15 every week. So, and I don't think he has a tough matchup this week. So I feel like he's a little bit matchup based, and in good matchups, he's done well. If you look at his matchup score to matchup throughout the year on his game log, so that is what I'm going off of, and that's about it. Oh, and also he's really good in garbage time. So if the Falcons just blow him out, then Dak will put up 3 touchdowns in garbage time.
Yeah. Listen, like. I don't think he's been the garbage man that we've all wanted him to be from the past, but no, it's very possible. I'm angry they got on. That's like having on right now is just like a cheat code almost. Like that's great pickup. And I don't know, Mooney is not to me like the wide receiver 2 you want at the moment. So that's like another like factor when I was thinking about.
Sure.
Like at this point in the year. So
I agree.
But obviously he has his moments.
He's just my guy right now. I'll call back to me trading Mark straight up like 5 or 6 weeks ago, Michael Pittman for Mooney. Which was a risk to take at the time, but I was really over Pittman being a bum, and Mooney continued to pop off for me, so I love it.
Yeah.
All right, and now my hot take. I'm trying to remember who I have here, but I'll remember when I put it. Oh, I remember who it is. Yep, I've got Ryan going this week. So some varying inputs here. I mean, outside of like the David and Phillip, which would kind of be your obvious takes. Mark getting predicted twice, me getting predicted, and Ryan getting predicted are more of the better teams predicted. My take on Ryan is, well, one thing on Burrow, I could see a game script where the Bengals just try to pound it to the Raiders on the ground. I feel like the Bengals are in this point in the season where we need like a dominating win on the ground where we feel like we don't just have to rely on Burrow throwing it, because it's kind of where we've been all year and it hasn't, like, the other aspects of the team have not worked out. Anyway, it's a whole Bengals tangent. But I think I could see a game where Burrow throws 1 touchdown and we have like 3 rushing touchdowns. I do like Kyron. Brees, in theory, has a bad matchup against Houston, but I think he's a little bit matchup proof right now. He should be fine. Josh Downs, I will say that it's not like there's no bust potential. We did see that he can put up bad points, but that is in theory without Flacco. With Flacco, he's much better. Mark Andrews could be a bust. Like Montgomery, as always. I think Keon Coleman does have a chance to have a bad game with, I think, Amari Cooper if Amari Cooper has a good game, either Khalil Shakir or Coleman are having a bad game. So to me, that puts him at a 50%
Fair.
chance of having a bad game, is the way I weirdly look at that. I think Amari Cooper does have a good game. And I like Patriots at Tennessee. That's not bad. Unless we see Tony Pollard go to town, as we were just talking about earlier. So that's just, at this point, everyone has good players, but that's like you with my team. That's my take, is Ryan. He wasn't here to retaliate on my take because he left for the Yankees game.
I'll retaliate for him. I really like his pieces. Mark Andrews is the only one that like really scares me, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's like, one guy. So my opinion.
Totally agree. Yeah. Well, we are at an hour and 15, and I will say before we wrap up, the only people here. Well, to be fair, I did start recording for like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning when you guys were just like chatting, but other guys that we can get in here, that I'd love it if any of you guys that watch these videos and are somehow here after an hour and 15 want to hop in. Mark, James, Huff, Jake, Fleming, Philip. If you guys are ever available, either I might start doing these Wednesday nights or Thursday around midday in like the 11 to 2 window. Hit me up. Would love to get some more people in the booth here before everyone's gone. But yeah. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Here we go. That is it. Johnny, any closing remarks?
No, we gotta get the people out of here.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get you out of here so that if you got eliminated real quick, if you got eliminated, that would really shake up the league. I think if you got eliminated, then I would say the door is now open for just about anyone to win the league. But as long as you are there, the teams that don't have Fab right now, like the Ryan and below, have no chance, I think, of being able to do anything. So
It'll be if I keep this Fab for a couple more weeks, it'll be interesting to see if that turns out to be true. But I love that this league has a small roster. That's such a good thing for a lot of reasons, to keep it competitive and interesting, to make people make moves. But I can only hold so many guys. So I think having low Fab, you'll still be competitive near the end. I think me stealing guys for people that need it right now is like what's annoying, if that makes sense. Or potentially, I haven't obviously, but
right, yeah. But flip side, you would probably feel extra dumb if you get eliminated in like the next 2 or 3 weeks without making a big move and you die with all this Fab.
For sure. I'm sweating, but I've always been a risk taker, and maybe I love the power, and that's a problem. But no, I
you love the power and you love the thrill of risk.
Yeah, but no, it's that would suck. Anyway,
that's funny. Okay, good stuff. We'll wrap it up there. Good week as always. Don't get eliminated.